just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice.
Before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered. This is America's Voice Live.
And welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gruber.
The pulse of the people.
We need somebody that's going to hear the people's voice.
The truth the mainstream won't touch.
This guy is, by definition, a globalist.
And the stories that matter.
RAV's own Ben Berquam.
Right up over this hill, we got an cartel. I see him.
Live.
Breaking news right now here on Real America's Voice.
Unfiltered.
These people are domestic terrorists.
And unapologetic.
We're here to take a stand for God and country. Let's feel good, doesn't it?
America's Voice Live starts now.
And welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gruber. It is Tuesday, the 3rd of March, the year of our Lord 2026. Let's get into the day's top stories. As always, thank you for joining me here on Real America's Voice. We truly appreciate it. In Austin, Texas, a mass shooter opened fire at a popular bar, killing and wounding multiple people. Investigators still examining whether or not he was possibly a terrorist motivated by the strikes in Iran. More on that coming up. Also, as airstrikes on Iran continue, the videos of Hillary and Bill Clinton's deposition regarding the Epstein files, they've been released. I'll bring on Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee to discuss that, as well as the situation with Iran. And then later, the 2026 midterms heat up with GOP primaries in Texas, Arkansas, and North Carolina, including Ken Paxton taking on John Cornyn in a Senate showdown that could shape President Trump's agenda going forward. All that and more today. First, though, we start with the Democrats. They are once again attacking Trump for doing something they've promised to do for years and have failed to. And I'm tired of it. You probably are too. Left-wing politicians and commentators are ignoring almost half a century of history when they claim that Iran is not a threat to the United States and that Trump is acting like a dictator by doing something about it, destroying it. It's revisionist history at its worst to pretend that the Democrat Party has not waxed eloquently about doing exactly what Trump just did, just without any results. Let's take a walk down memory lane, shall we? In 2008, this was Hillary Clinton's position as she campaigned for the presidency. Here she is.
I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say. But those people who run Iran need to understand that, because that perhaps will deter them from doing something that would be reckless, foolish, and tragic.
Obliterate them. Not subtle, obliterate them. Obama said the same thing in 2012 in a debate against Mitt Romney before that presidential election. Here he is.
A nuclear Iran is a threat to our national security, and it's a threat to Israel's national security. We cannot afford to have a nuclear arms race in the most volatile region of the world. Iran's a state sponsor of terrorism, and for them to be able to provide nuclear technology to non-state actors, that's unacceptable. And they have said that they want to see Israel wiped off the map. So the work that we've done with respect to sanctions now offers Iran a choice. They can take the diplomatic route and end their nuclear program, or they will have to face a united world and a United States president, me, who said we're not going to take any options off the table.
No options off the table. And after he won that race, his vice president, Joe Biden, reiterated the exact same position. Nothing is off the table.
So we have a shared strategic commitment. Let me make clear what that commitment is. It is to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon, period. Period. End of discussion, period. Prevent, not contain, prevent. We are not looking for war. We are looking to and ready to negotiate peacefully. But all options including military force, are on the table.
It's a whole lot of tough talk, a lot of bark, and no bite. Because what did President Obama actually do? He handed the Iranians, the mullahs, and the Ayatollah $1.7 billion in cold, hard U.S. cash. He orchestrated a nuclear deal that everyone at the time recognized as weak and ineffective. Even Democrats, lots of Democrats, criticize it as not going far enough. Here they are.
The point at which they started with is not where they ended. Sanctions lifted. Inspections, the U.S. wanted anytime, anywhere. They didn't get those.
The administration set standards like inspections anytime, anywhere. And what we know about this deal says that that's not going to happen.
That is really the core thing. If you don't have anytime, anywhere, what do you really have?
If you don't have access anywhere, anytime in Iran, then enforcement becomes something really that's impossible to do.
We were told that this is anytime, anywhere. When you really read the language, as I understand it, it's not anytime, anywhere.
Well, Iran is unquestionably the big winner. Look at where the fireworks are going off.
Billions and billions will flood into Iran, legitimizing them and making them a bigger terror tool.
It's amazing to me that we included the arms embargo and the missile technology question as part of this deal.
Even Ash Carter, the president's defense secretary, has said that he has huge concerns allowing the arms embargo to be lifted.
The prospect of weapons going in is not a happy prospect.
Now, I can easily play you 100 more sound bites saying the exact same thing, but you get the idea. Let's not forget how that deal unraveled like a cheap sweater. Iran kept enriching uranium, sponsoring proxies like Hezbollah and Hamas, and laughing all the way to the bank with your money. Remember the pallets of cash flown in under the cover of darkness? Obama called it diplomacy, but it was a giveaway to terrorists. Fast forward, and Biden unfroze billions more, claiming it was for humanitarian aid. Yeah, right, like funding missiles is charity. Meanwhile, Iran's centrifuges spun faster. Their chance of death to America got louder, and our allies in the Middle East begged for real action. Trump saw through the charade. No more appeasement, no more weakness. He pulled the plug on that joke of a deal in 2018, restoring sanctions that actually bit. But now, with Operation Epic Fury delivering results, the left acts shocked? Give me a break. National security analysis, military advisors, historians, everyone has always agreed that Iran is a threat, a big one that can't be allowed to fester. And now that someone has actually done something about it, the same talking heads are clutching their pearls. Compare President Trump to Joe Biden. Biden gave Iran $6 billion in assets, and his VP Kamala would have been even more generous, I'm sure. But Trump doesn't let our enemies take advantage of us, that's for sure, like this.
What's the message to Iran?
Don't.
What is your message to Iran in this moment?
Don't.
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them. It's true. I don't care. I don't care.
I don't care. Democrats might not like it, but hey, it's promises made, promises kept at the very least. Democrats want to gripe and complain about the constitutionality of Trump using our weaponry on our enemies, but don't forget they tripped over themselves running so fast to attend every photo shoot they could with people like Zelensky. Signing bombs for someone who's not even our ally to use against their enemy, however, they saw fit. Spare me the moral outrage, please. Ukraine and Russia have been locked in a deadly, costly war for 4 years plus. And these same guys want to keep shipping bombs over there while they oppose a precise strategic strike that 49 of the worst leaders of a terrorist regime in one weekend were taken out. And more today, by the way. They were getting together to vote on who was going to be in charge next. They're no longer with us either. You know, another thing that really struck me was just how grateful the rest of the world is, while our own representatives demonize the operation. A fighter pilot was mistakenly shot down over Kuwait, and when she washed up on the shore of Kuwait, she was greeted by a Kuwaiti man who is much more gracious to her than our own Democrats are. Watch this.
You're fine? Really? You need something to help you? No problem, you're safe. You're safe, you're safe. Everything good? No problem. Thank you for helping us. Everything perfect?
Yeah, people in the Middle East support Americans more than Democrats. More of this, less of the fake hand-wringing from the left, please. While Democrats play pretend outrage and rewrite history for the sole purpose to bash Trump for delivering on the empty threats that they delivered, the world breathes easier. Spare me the hypocrisy. Trump's bold strike crippled a terrorist regime without endless war. Promises made, promises kept. Time to move forward stronger and safer. And that is the monologue for today. Coming up after the break, as Operation Epic Fury continues against the Iranian regime, President Trump stands firm with Vice President J.D. Vance backing the strikes too. But after a deadly shooting in Austin, the focus turns to whether America's strength abroad is exposing weakness here at home. Details straight ahead on America's Voice Live.
Doesn't slow down because you're tired. And weakness gets exposed. That's why the best take Go Pills. Born for military performance, built for high-pressure days when your brain has to move faster than the chaos. This is neurotransmitter support, helping your mind fire clean signals so you can process data fast, decide fast, and stay locked in when it matters. Packed with clinically supported ingredients designed to boost cognitive performance so you stay sharp under pressure. The most badass military in the world uses this kind of energy every day. Now you can too. From training to eliminate America's enemies to smoke-checking terrorists, Go Pills keep the mission fueled. Real-world tested by high-level tactical communities. Now available to you. Greenlight the beast inside. Pop a Go Pill. Scan the QR code or go to GoPills.com and use promo code RealAmerica for 15% off. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access. Plus, commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Hello, this is Kurt. Why do I love RAV? You ever talk to the hosts? You can do that on RAV. And the RAV family, they'll talk back to you too. Let you know what's going on. Take care.
Hi, this is Chris from Wisconsin. And I love Real America's Voice because we have great news and a great chat family. God bless all of you.
Vice President J.D. Vance just stated that nuclear talks with Iran didn't pass the smell test, and President Trump ordered strikes after Tehran's regime failed to curb its weapons ambitions. A decisive move critics on the left are scoffing at, but back home, the fallout may be hitting closer to the heartland. In Austin, Texas, I'm sure you've heard, a mass shooter opened fire at a popular bar, killing and wounding multiple people. Investigators now examining whether he was possibly motivated by the same Iran strikes with a Quran found in his vehicle as the FBI searches for a potential terrorism connection. He was also wearing a shirt that said "Property of Allah" on his chest. As lawmakers debate foreign policy and national defense, Americans are left wondering about blowback and the domestic security implications of standing firm abroad. Joining to discuss this is former FBI Special Agent and Navy SEAL Jonathan Gilliam. Jonathan, nice to see you today. We recommended here on this program, right after the strikes, keep your head on a swivel. Be situationally aware. Look at your surroundings because, look, we don't know who came over that open border for 4 years. Some estimates put the number of Iranian military-age men somewhere around 20,000 that may have come in. And where are they today? The answer is we don't know. Jonathan, how concerning?
Well, it's very concerning, especially when you still have an FBI that cannot determine quickly that that was a terrorist attack motivated by Islamic fundamentalists in Texas. Like, how could I have no idea how they say they're still trying to determine that. So that's alarming as it is. Also, the fact that, and I've been saying this as much as possible because people have to realize this, the people that came over the border may not themselves have all been attackers. They could be force multipliers, planners, people that help to push people or plan operations for people to go carry out. So they're just as dangerous as the person who carries a bomb or carries a gun. And the other part of this whole equation that nobody's really talking about is the Red-Green Alliance, the Marxist communist mixture with or partnership with Islam. And we've seen this for, many hundreds of years. And when you look at the people that are protesting or that were protesting up in Minneapolis, rioting in Minneapolis, the people who have carried out attacks recently in this country, and the ones who have been siding with the people who carried out those attacks, they're all influenced by Iran's intelligence agency, which is one of the most dangerous things that Iran has. They're not, as you can see, they're not good at national defense, but they're great at proxy wars. They're great at terrorist attacks, and they're extremely talented when it comes to propaganda and the use of intelligence agents. And they have convinced a whole swath of American citizens that are non-Muslims to back Hamas, to go out and riot, to get themselves killed. And all of those people are saying the same exact verbiage and talk about the same thing as the Muslim attackers that have attacked here recently as well. All this is very troubling, and we need an FBI that's going to look into all of it as one giant conspiracy, because that's what it is.
You know, just as concerning, Jonathan, as I watch the social media clips, Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, among the worst, out there saying we have no plan, I have no idea what we're doing here, basically undermining the authority of the commander-in-chief. Again, Senator Kelly is doing this, a veteran himself. It's shocking to me because that just feeds the fire, doesn't it?
It does. And I used to say this about John McCain. Don't mistake a heroic act or a hero who does a heroic act. Let me rephrase that. Don't assume that someone is a hero because they've done a heroic act. Some people go and serve the country, and they do honorable things, but it doesn't mean that they're honorable. And I think, Senator Kelly is one of the most dishonorable people I've ever listened to, or whoever's ever held an office here. I think it's disrespectful to all the other people that serve in this nation and serve for the right reasons to have somebody come up there and cloud this honor of service like this guy has. And it shows you, I think, the Walls is just as bad. For instance, he has a close relationship with communist countries. He has a close relationship with the Muslim community out of Somalia and allowing them to do $1 billion worth of fraud. He's the same way, but yet he served and spouts all his service, but yet does all this leftist stuff. And these people are very dangerous people that are also a part of this giant conspiracy in this country by leftists and Muslims who are hell-bent on a caliphate. This stuff is real. And I can't understand why people don't understand the importance, and I'm talking about non-leftists here, the importance of hitting Iran. This should have been done a long time ago. This regime should have been eliminated because they've said they're at war with the United States. They've killed thousands of Americans. They've wished death on America, and they've been working to gain weapons to attack the United States and our interests. Steve, I'm dumbfounded by the way that these people on the right make these claims that we just shouldn't be involved in any wars when we're not the ones who went out and looking for it. We just happen to have a president who says enough is enough, and I'm going to eliminate that threat. And that's what he's done.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Look, I am old enough to remember 52 hostages being led around in blindfolds throughout Iran, used as propaganda, thrown in solitary confinement. One of them that I just listened to today, 43 days in solitary in an Iranian prison. His cellmate lost 2/3 of his body weight. This was not a pleasant time for America or Americans. And I was really happy when Jimmy Carter left office and Ronald Reagan came in and those people were released, because they knew that Ronald Reagan would also take strong action. Jonathan, I got to run. Marco Rubio is taking some questions, sir. Thank you for being here. Let's jump to Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. Here he is.
A parking lot adjacent to the Chancellery building, and then set off a fire in that place. All personnel are accounted for. As you're aware, we began drawing down personnel from our diplomatic facilities in advance of this. In the cases, for example, of Beirut, we basically drew down to bare bones, as well as in Baghdad and in Erbil and in a couple other posts as well. So we've been very fortunate, obviously, but our embassies and our diplomatic facilities are under direct attack from a terroristic regime. With an update, I will obviously refer you to the Department of War. Suffice it to say that our objectives remain as they've been identified from the beginning and by the President laid out clearly yesterday. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, and we will now not allow Iran to hide behind the immunity of a massive short-term ballistic missile inventory or the ability to make them or launch them. And so CENTCOM, in a joint operations, is carrying out a systematic destruction of their missile belt, destruction of their launchers, and destruction of their ability to make these, as well as the destruction of their Navy. From what I've been told by the Department of War, everything is on or ahead of schedule and proceeding on these objectives. We have every confidence in the world that these objectives will be achieved. The last point I would make is, and I said this yesterday and I repeat, what's about to, you're about to see, we're going to unleash Cheng on these people in the next few hours and days. You're going to really begin to perceive a change in the scope and in the intensity of these attacks as, frankly, the two most powerful air forces in the world take apart this terroristic regime and defang it and take away its ability to threaten its neighbors or hide behind a zone of immunity that allows them to develop their nuclear ambitions. This terroristic, radical, cleric-led regime cannot be ever allowed to have nuclear weapons. We saw what they were willing to do to their own people. They were willing to slaughter their own people in the streets. Imagine what they would do to us. Imagine what they would do to others. Under President Trump, that will never, ever happen. All right?
Yesterday you talked about Israel. Mr. Secretary.
Please, guys, I can't hear them all. Yes.
Yesterday, you told us that Israel was going to strike Iran, and that's why we needed to get involved. Today, the president said that Iran was going to get.
Yeah, your statement is false. So that's not what I was asked very specifically. Were you there yesterday?
Yes, I asked a question.
No, were you the one that? Because somebody asked me a question yesterday. Did we go in because of Israel? And I said, you were asking me that. You from that follow-up, and I said no. I told you this had to happen anyway. The president made a decision, and the decision he made was that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ballistic missile program. That Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ability to conduct these attacks. That decision had been made. The president systematically made a decision to systematically destroy this terroristic capability that they had, and we carried that out. I was very clear in that answer. This was a question of timing, of why this had to happen as a joint operation, not the question of the intent. Once the president made a decision that negotiations were not going to work, that they were playing us on the negotiations, and that this was a threat that was untenable, the decision was made to strike them. That's what I said yesterday, and you guys need to play it. If you're going to play these statements, you need to play the whole statement, not clip it to reach a narrative that you want to do, all right?
This is your statement. This is your statement, Mr. Secretary.
Go ahead.
What do you make of the war powers resolution that's being considered here in Congress?
I mean, Congress votes on those. They can if they want. There's mechanisms for it. We've complied with the War Powers Act, even though we believe it's unconstitutional, as has every other administration. Every other president has found the War Powers Act to be unconstitutional. Nonetheless, We notified Gang of Eight, which was an appropriate mechanism by which to notify Congress. We sent the notification within 48 hours, the way the law requires. I'm here today to have, I don't know, my 6th or 7th briefing before the entirety of the House and Senate, which is far more than I ever got from any administration in the time that I was here, certainly when I was a member of the Gang of Eight. And so we've over-complied with the law and what it requires. This is an action by the president to address a real threat, This is hostilities designed to eliminate a threat to the safety and the security of the United States and to our allies.
Was there a plan in place to evacuate Americans before the attack took place?
Well, that's the plan we're trying to carry out. The problem is, or the challenge we are facing, is airspace closures. If a country closes their airport, for example, in some cases the airports have been hit. So the airport in Kuwait was hit. So if an airport's been attacked or the airspace is closed, then we can have the planes lined up to go, but we can't get them to land because we don't have the permissions to land there. So that's the challenge. But rest assured, we are confident that we are going to be able to assist every American. As I told you right now, we have about a little over 1,500, maybe closer to 1,600 Americans requesting assistance, and we know that we're going to be able to help them. It's going to take a little time because we don't control the airspace closures. That said, there may be more people out there that need help. We need to know who you are. So please, I'm asking the media, publicize the phone numbers and the website, because we need people to call in so we have their name, we have their contact information, we have their location and their request. So as these opportunities begin to open up, we can act very quickly to reach them and get them out of harm's way.
Mr. Secretary, I want to just clarify what you said. Because you said
there's nothing to clarify.
But you said I would get that.
No, but you have to read. If you're going to read the whole statement.
Your quote is about, we knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that would precipitate an attack.
Yeah, no, I understand. But listen, all right, let me understand. But I had a very specific question from that gentleman, right?
The president said that.
Hold on one second. I asked a very
force Israelis.
Okay, but let me answer, because this is my press conference.
Sure.
Okay. You asked me, I was asked a very specific question. So you guys can misrepresent it, but I was asked a very specific question yesterday. The bottom line is this. The president determined we were not going to get hit first. It's that simple, guys. We are not going to put Americans' troops in harm's way. If you tell the president of the United States that if we don't go first, we're going to have more people killed and more people injured, the president's going to go first. That's what he did. That's what the president will always do. He will always put the safety and security of our men and women in uniform and of all Americans before anything else. He's always going to do that, and that's what he did here. In addition to that, I would argue that this threat from Iran, they are hiding behind these missiles and hiding behind these drones. They wanted to reach a point where you couldn't touch them, and then they could do whatever the hell they wanted with their nuclear program. And there is no way in the world that this terroristic regime was going to get nuclear weapons, not under Donald Trump's watch.
So the U.S. attack had nothing to do with Israel. It had nothing to do with Israel.
This operation, there's a general question of why the president gave the green light, and then there's a question of why did it have to happen this weekend? Are you saying it had to happen this weekend because of that Israeli action?
No, this weekend presented a unique opportunity to take joint action against this threat. And we wanted this to have maximum success. We want this operation to be successful at achieving its objectives. I'll repeat the objectives. The president laid them out yesterday. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It cannot have, and therefore it cannot have the things it was hiding behind to have a nuclear weapons program. What are those things? Number one, we are going to destroy their missiles and their missile launchers. We are going to destroy their capability to make these missiles and these launchers. And we are going to destroy their Navy. Those are the objectives. And this weekend, acting at this time, gave us the highest probability of success in achieving those objectives. And as the Department of War will brief you, we are on or ahead of schedule to do that.
So the U.S. attack would have happened no matter what? Would the U.S. attack have happened no matter what Israel is planning to do?
Israel was going to act with or without
the president had already made a decision to act on the timing. The president acted on the timing that gave us the highest chance of success. And that's what you're seeing play out right now. You're seeing it play out right now, and you'll see it in the days to come. We will systematically take apart their missile program. We will destroy their ability to sponsor terrorism, by the way. We will destroy their factories. We will destroy their Navy. Those objectives are going to be met. We're well on our way to meeting them. It will not be easy. There will be a price to pay for it, but that is a much lower price to pay than having a nuclear-armed Iran. I got to go brief these guys. Hold on. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Secretary, how heavily is the administration leaning into the 2001 AUMF for justification of these strikes?
What now?
How how heavily is the administration?
Well, that's not our notification to Congress. Our notification, listen, let me explain to you guys this in simple English, okay? Iran is run by lunatics, religious fanatic lunatics. They have an ambition to have nuclear weapons. They intend to develop those nuclear weapons behind a program of missiles and drones and terrorism that the world will not be able to touch them for fear of those things. And this is the weakest they've ever been. Now is the time to go after them. The president made the decision to go after them, take away their missiles, take away their Navy, take away their drones, take away their ability to make those things so that they can never have a nuclear weapon. That's why the president made this decision. It was the right decision, and the world will be a safer place when these radical clerics no longer have access to these weapons. You see how they're using them now. Imagine how they would use them a year from now if they had more of these. All right, I got time for one more. Yeah, go ahead.
What exactly was the threat?
Several Democrats criticized what you said and argued that
the question is, several Democrats criticize. They're going to always criticize. We've been doing this for years, guys. They come out. I'll tell you right now, they're going to come out after the briefing and say, we didn't hear anything. We have more questions than answers. You mark my words. But we still do these briefings. Go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, their criticism was on the timeline. They said that Israel is dictating the timeline for the United States.
No,
and as you know, several people on the right have also agreed with that. How would you respond to
that? The United States made a decision. Under the President of the United States made a decision. This is intolerable. Iran cannot have these missiles, cannot have these drones, cannot threaten the world. The President said this is the weakest they've ever been. If we don't hit them now, a year from now, a year and a half from now, no one will be able to touch them, and they'll be able to do whatever they want. And he made a decision to go. And he made a decision to go in a joint operation because it gave us the highest chance of success. And he made the decision to go first because he concluded that we were not going to get hit first. We were not going to absorb a blow from them. We were going to go first. He was not going to run the risk that they could attack us before we could hit them, because in addition to costing lives, it would undermine the effectiveness of our operation. All right, guys, I got to go. Thank you.
There you have the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, taking numerous questions there on Capitol Hill as he's on his way to brief those in Congress asking questions. Continuing the discussion now, I want to bring in Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett, who's been patiently waiting for the Secretary of State to wrap up there. Congressman, nice to see you today.
Great seeing you, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Always good to have you. Look, he made a number of points there, reiterating what he has said numerous times. Here are the objectives. Here is why we did it. Here is the causation of what happened. And yet you've got those on the left, be it members of Congress, including some Republicans, which was pointed out by the reporters. They're not wrong about that. What is your take? We're 4 days in now. The assaults on Iran seem to be pretty effective thus far. I guess they were gathered together to pick a new leader today. Well, they're going to have to find somebody else, from what I understand, because that didn't work out so well. Your thoughts?
No, they got to find somebody alive, I guess, that could lead. Look, we've had a history with them ever since the Iran hostage taking in the 70s. We think that they in Libya when they killed 240 Marines, and that barracks bombing when they killed several sailors, I believe in 2000. And then, of course, in the Iraqi war, the Iranians armed them. So they've got American blood on their hands there. It's no just shallow title that they are the largest exporter of terrorism in the world. They have got a history of this. And Trump is the first dadgum president to have the guts to do what he says he's going to do. We've had 5 in my lifetime that have said, that they're going to deal with it or whatever. And basically by dealing with it, you look back at Obama, they gave them pallets of cash. And that's just not what this administration's about. They tried multiple times to cut a deal with them. They were even going to give them uranium so they could use for energy, but they turned them down. So clearly they want uranium for another process, and that's nuclear weapons. And you just can't have them. Secretary Rubio is correct in saying that they're just a bunch of lunatics.
Congressman, we played it at the top of the program here. A number of comments from people like Hillary Clinton beginning in 2008 saying that if she was to be elected president that year, she would obliterate Iran if they try to get a nuclear weapon. And we've got examples from Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and the list goes on. I could play 100 sound bites of Democrats saying that Iran was a threat, that Iran needed to be taken care of, that they would obliterate Iran. And as soon as Donald Trump does it, It apparently is the wrong thing to do. This kind of hypocrisy is remarkable. In fact, Senator Ruben Gallego of Arizona today comes out and says, America is no longer a superpower because we went after Iran. These kind of comments undermine everything we're doing. Look, when there are American armed forces in harm's way, historically speaking, Congressman, we all come together. But apparently that memo was lost heading across the aisle. What do you say about that?
Well, it's hard to figure out what do they hate more. Do they hate Donald Trump more? Do they hate the United States of America more? And that hurts me to say that because I know those folks. But that is exactly the avenue they're going down right now by running our own country down. How can you stand with Iran in any shape, form, or fashion? They stone women who are raped, and they blame them for it. Little girls put makeup on, they'll gouge their eyes out. Little boys will put a bad tweet out, they'll hang them. And if you're gay, they'll throw you off a dadgum building. And that this is the people they're rallying around because they don't like Trump. It's pathetic. Look, we got a new sheriff in town, and his name's Donald J. Trump, and he is kicking some serious tail, and they can't stand it, and they know it because this will be the ninth. I guess the ninth war that because Iran's been constantly in a state of warfare with the world. And look at right now, they're launching missiles at people that didn't even have anything to do with the bombing of them, and they're trying to stir them up in some sort of end of world scenario, apocalyptic kind of thing. They are lunatics, and I think you probably have less than 5% of their population that follows in that radical Islamic faith that they have right now in their own country. So, and look around the world, all the Iranians that are celebrating, they can't get the cameras away from those people fast enough.
Yeah, well, we saw the young man in Austin, Texas at a CBS affiliate. He got a text message saying, don't focus on this. He said, well, I'm going to. And then he talked about the people celebrating behind him. But you're right. From Los Angeles to New York to Toronto to London to Paris, Iranians are celebrating in the streets, dancing with joy because they think they might be able to return home to a country they once knew or maybe have never been to because they're descendants of those that fled the oppressive regime. Bringing a stable Iran to the Middle East, returning Iran to the world of civilized nations, that's not just good for America. It's good for everybody, isn't it?
Everybody, especially for the Middle East. I mean, look at the Saudis are letting Israeli planes fly over their airspace. In what world would you ever think you'd see that? So you've got just a peace is going to break out. This is avoiding a world war. This isn't starting a world war. And when we get that through our thick heads, I think we'll be doing a whole lot better. But again, these folks in Congress, they hate our country, obviously, for all the stands that they've taken. And this is just one of many.
All right, Congressman, I want to shift gears with you. One other story I wanted you to weigh in on because it's just so, it's like watching a car wreck, I guess. Bill and Hillary Clinton, the testimony that was held behind closed doors, the videos were released, distancing themselves, of course, from Jeffrey Epstein. More than 9 hours of video were released, but questions remain. I saw Bill Clinton oogling over the pictures, and his attorney tried to take it away from him. I mean, he had this little grin on his face. He's like he was reminiscing, going back to that day and time. That was not a good look, shall we say?
No, I'm not. I wasn't too big of a fan of those hearings anyway, because I knew what would happen, and their arrogance shows through, and they lie. And they don't tell the whole story, and they get by with it because of who they are. You know, they went up to Chappaqua. You and I would be brought in here in chains, and we should if we were subpoenaed by the United States Congress. But because of them, they could somehow negotiate it. It just doesn't make any sense. And yet they get by with this. And I heard somebody say how charming Bill Clinton was. Well, he's a dirtbag. And, his wife, in my opinion, is a very evil person. And, once again, I'm
going to go out on a limb here, Congressman. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, Bill Clinton might have preferred coming in chains. But maybe I'm wrong.
Well, possibly. There's no telling what his certain proclivity is, but he's he's getting to be an old man pretty soon. I would hope he would make peace with his maker for what he and his wife have done.
Yeah, Hillary sat right there and said she didn't know Jeffrey Epstein, which is weird considering that he put in millions of dollars to the Clinton Global Initiative and the Clinton Foundation and all of those different places. But she somehow had no idea who he was or who this donor was, giving millions of dollars to them. And let's be honest, a lot of that money fell to their bottom line and nobody else's, right? Again,
they get by with it, and the Democrats would probably reelect him if they were back on the ballot again today. It's a sad state of this country. Time.
Yeah, last question is this. All of these things going on, the Clintons not included, but what's happening in Iran and everything else, gas prices are going to go up. That's a certainty, which means the price of everything's going to go up for a period of time, depending on how long this engagement lasts. How much of an impact do you think this is all going to have on the midterm elections? Does it depend on how long it goes on? Will the American people come around? Because polling has not been great so far. Last word to you.
No, I think it's going to boil down to what the last shiny object is out there. I'm guilty of this as anybody is. Americans want their pizzas in 30 minutes, and that's about our dadgum attention span. And that's what's the last thing that happens in the world or that dealing with this country is what people will remember the most. And, we're producing, we under Trump's first administration, we were exporting energy. And then under the Biden administration, all those restrictions, we were tightened down, and somehow they blame Trump for that. And now prices are coming down, and they won't give him credit for it. So I would just say disregard the media and vote your heart.
Congressman, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, my friend. Now think about this. In 2006, $20,000 equaled roughly 33 ounces of gold at the spot price. At today's prices, those 33 ounces would be worth about $165,000. Smart Americans diversified a portion of their savings into precious metals. That's why you need to consider buying gold from my friends at Birch Gold. For thousands of years, gold has been a store of wealth, and today it's a crucial part of any balanced strategy. Even better, Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered retirement account in gold. Just text America to the number 989898. Receive your free information kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of satisfied customers, let Birch Gold help you diversify with gold. Now that's peace of mind. Text America to 989898. Again, text America to the number 989898 today and get your free information kit. Don't go anywhere. America's Voice Live will continue after a short break where I'll discuss everyone's favorite time of the year, tax season. Details straight ahead.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now. Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
Always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer. In the moments I'm afraid to There's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky when I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right.
Well, April 15th on the way, millions of Americans bracing for tax season. Many are facing unexpected balances, weighing the risks of filing late or paying late and trying to keep penalties and interest from piling up. For those who owe, understanding payment options and what happens after the deadline is now more important than ever. Join me to discuss is spokesperson for Tax Network USA, Cameron Kinsey. Cameron, nice to see you today.
Good to see you too, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Now, I know some people jumped early because they thought they're getting a good refund, but for those that are not, it can be a frightening time. What are you seeing right now?
Well, I mean, as we get closer to the deadline, we're seeing, two main groups of people. First, people who filed, who were shocked by how much they owe. And second, people who haven't filed yet because they're too afraid of what that number or outcome going to be. The worst thing you can do right now is panic, let this become a bigger problem than it needs to be. But the second worst thing you can do is ignore it. The earlier you face it, the more options you have and the more control that you may have over the situation.
Yeah, no question about that. So what should someone do if they file and do owe more than they expect? The number comes back and they're in sticker shock. How do you handle that?
Well, first, just file on time no matter what. Filing protects you from a much larger failure to file penalty. After that, don't just set up the first payment plan that the IRS offers you without fully understanding it, because there are structured resolution options available, but you want to approach this strategically before penalties and interest start compounding. So acting quickly gives you that leverage and keeps the balance from spiraling.
Yeah, let's be clear about this. Is it worse to file and not pay or not file at all?
Well, I would say not filing is absolutely worse. The failure to file penalty is significantly higher than the failure to pay penalty. So even if you can't write out that check for the full amount, you should still file the return. That will automatically protect you from the most aggressive penalties right out of the gate. And it shows good faith that you're trying to resolve the issue.
Right. And so here's the question. If someone ignores the balance after April 15th, bad things happen, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, penalties and interest add up. I mean, and they add up immediately. Penalties start after the deadline. The interest compounds daily, like I mentioned. So what is worse is that people don't realize how quickly that number can snowball. A balance that feels manageable in April can look very different in just a few months later if it's left untouched, especially once additional notices and fees start stacking on top of that. So it's good to have professionals in your corner to help you with this.
So here's the question. Are payment plans automatically approved or is there a process?
Not always, and this is important. The quick automatic payment plans can sometimes end up costing you more in the long run because interest and penalties continue to stack up. For larger balances especially, it's just critical to have a tax professional, a tax attorney or enrolled agent structure it properly from the start of this. A rush solution can become an expensive mistake, and most people really don't realize that until they've already locked into it.
Cameron Kinsey, thank you as always for being here, Tax Network USA. 6 weeks, folks. That's what you got, Cameron. Thank you. You can learn more at tnusa.com/RAV if you need help with your taxes, or call 1-800-905-8000. That's tnusa.com/RAV, or call 1-800-905-8000. After the break, I've got a great story that will remind you of just how wonderful America is, so be sure to stay tuned. I'll be back.
Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead, scan the QR code now. Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
There's a light I've always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer, in the moments I'm afraid. There's a whisper in the wind, and a story in the sky, when I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right.
Well, what makes America wonderful, we do it every day in the hopes of putting a smile on your face. Today's story comes to us from Reagan National, the airport where the Freedom Plane Airborne Museum recently kicked off its historic Freedom 250 tour. This one-of-a-kind event takes original founding documents, including an engraving of the Declaration of Independence and the Treaty of Paris, on tour. Join me to discuss it and tell me all about it, RAV correspondent, host of Breaking Point, the man, the myth, the legend, David Zier, everybody. David, come on down. You are the guy today. Now, you were on the ground at Reagan. You saw this. This is a pretty remarkable collection, isn't it?
It's remarkable. I can't believe they're putting it up in the air to 8 cities around the United States, in addition to those documents, there's the original engraving of the Declaration of Independence, but the Articles of Association, Washington and Hamilton's and Aaron Burr's Oaths of Allegiance, the secret printing of the Constitution in draft form, the tally of the votes approving the Constitution, and the Senate markup of the Bill of Rights. And this was inspired from the 1976 bicentennial Freedom Train, and it comes on the heels of the launch I covered in North Carolina with Secretary of Transportation Duffy, these 6 mobile museums, these semi-trailers, these quad trailers that expand, and they're interactive virtual museums, educating our kids across the country and the public. And these things are free in all of these cities. It's going to Kansas City. It'll be there for a couple of weeks. It arrived there yesterday. It'll open in a few days, I believe. Dearborn, Seattle, Los Angeles, Houston, Denver, and Miami. This is part of Trump's agenda in anticipation of the 250th anniversary of America.
So tell me how this works then. Well, first with the plane, then we'll get to the trucks, but the plane flies and lands. Do you tour through the plane, or do they unload the artifacts? Well, how does it work?
I understand that you'll be allowed on the plane to see the exhibits. I'll get some clarification on that for you. But it's open to the public. Again, it's free. And just a side note, my observation is some of these cities he's going to are a little bit left-leaning cities, and maybe he thinks people in those cities need a little taste and a dose of what made this country great. You know, when you talk about Dearborn and you talk about other cities, you know, like Los Angeles, Atlanta, Houston, Seattle, especially. But this is really historic. And, you know, what they're doing with these 737s is amazing. You know, now the president uses them as the C-40 in the cabinet, and now we're using them for this. This is a collaboration between the National Archives as well. And I interviewed Jim Byron yesterday, who said, you know, this is a historic moment for the United States, and he hopes this tour inspires Americans with the same sense of idealism and of our founders to carry our country forward for another 250 years.
You know, you mentioned Dearborn, which is not too far from where I'm sitting right now every day when I do this program. It almost feels, when you say Dearborn and Seattle and some of these cities, making a statement. Let's show you freedom on the ground in places where freedom, honestly, has been under attack. Now, not Dearborn, not so much, but Seattle or Minneapolis, some of these places, you know, obviously the chaos in the streets. Dearborn, remarkably, has been very quiet since Saturday. Not a lot going on down there, not a lot being said. It's not really, they're not positioning themselves on one side or the other on this war in Iran, not from what we're seeing on the streets down there. But I think it makes a statement to some of these places in America, doesn't it?
I think it does, and I covered the protests outside the White House. They were very small last night. I think that community is split, and here they are, the National Socialist Movement running this protest last night, and they don't even know the history in Iran. They're supporting the Ayatollah. They got pictures of the Ayatollah, and then, you know, the socialists are the rightful transition government for Iran, you know, the MEK, the Mujahideen, so they don't know their history. But I think the Arab community, the Persian community, especially in America, is supporting what we're doing over there for the most part. And even if they don't say it, I think they're waiting and seeing if, in fact, because this is a game changer, right, for everybody.
Right. It's certainly, you know, it's pretty clear the Democrats have lost the Jewish vote in large part for all the obvious reasons. They've lost the Iranian vote, however significant that is, I have no idea. But they've lost a lot of people. And so, again, I caution the Democrats, David, don't take your victory lap in February and March, because we're a long way from the election. David, great for that display traveling around the country. Good stuff, David. Thank you as always.
Always, Steve. We'll talk soon. It was a great experience.
Thank you very much. All right, here's the thing. We're going to keep an eye. The U.S. consulate in Dubai was hit by a drone. A lot of reports of that. Nobody was killed. Nobody was injured. The fire was taken care of in short order. It's been exaggerated in some places, not too severe. Remember to follow me on all the social media platforms, X, Facebook, Instagram, you know the places, and YouTube. Don't forget to go and follow me on YouTube. A brand new edition of my Forgotten America podcast dropped this week. You'll enjoy it, I am sure. And then I'll see you tomorrow morning to start your broadcast day here on Real America's Voice at 6 o'clock, and then back for America's Voice Live tomorrow afternoon.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now. Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel and take Go Pills to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
Go Pills and Soldier Fuel locked in.
Go Pills are packed with neurotransmitter support. Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Mic on, lights up. Soldier Fuel keeps me dialed right in.
Both are used by the U.S. military every day.
Built by patriots for patriots.
And they're now available to you.
This is huge.
Scan the QR codes below and order your supply today.
Hear that pop? So good.
Go to buysoldierfuel.com or search on Amazon.
This is performance fuel. Clean